One.
Legacy Maker, the All Sports
The
Network.
place is here and the time is now. Let's take it round for round. And people gather round. Let's see who can win the crown. All the marbles involved. Football, baseball, or golf. Who's dominating the hoops? Who's talking false or the truth? Yeah, come and show me your war face. I show you my war face. No holds barred, so for your sake, you better show up in good shape. Valuable information is key to your domination. So focus on preparation. Online is your reputation. Yeah, it's one-on-one. You and me, ain't no fear in me. You will see. When it comes to this, you be wearing the number 23. In debate, I hold my weight cause these sports I'm attached to it. Your legacy, get ready cause I'm gonna set a match to it. Hey. Burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire, 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 burn 'em. Fire, 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 legacy on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for another episode of Legacy on Fire. Yes, I know. Beat me later. It has been a month. It's been a very long time since we've been able to bring you the fire here on Legacy on Fire. July 20th, to be exact. A lot of training camps, a lot of running across the beltway for your boys. So it's nice to kind of be back and get chilled and get ready as we get ready for the NFL season. We got a lot to get into on this one. And first of all, we'd like to say hi to our Bowie TV viewers. This is the first time that we will be airing on Bowie Television. So thank you all for joining us. And we hope that you truly, truly, truly enjoy the show. But with all that being said, let me go ahead and introduce you to the illustrious panel. To my right, you got the man, the myth, and the legend. He is my right-hand man here on Legacy on Fire. Mr. James Brown, how you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. You know, we're back from hiatus. We got a lot to get into. Shout out to the people out Bowie. You know, glad to have y'all on with us today. And man, I can't wait.
Awesome. And of course, right below us is our guy. He is the co-host of Commonwealth Sports Talk. Our guy, Mr. Lamonte Thomas. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Again, shout out to all the Bowie TV followers, man. We really appreciate it. Excited. You know, it's like we're out of training camp, man. Roster cuts have been done. We're ready to get this thing on. So
let's go ahead and get it started. And you know what we like to start with, ladies and gentlemen? We start off with one sentence. If you didn't catch the drift, it's all NFC themed today. Next week's show will be all AFC theme. So, you know, we're doing our previews for the NFC today. And our first one on one sentence. So, fellas, I want to hear from you. Which team, one sentence, is going to be the most underrated team in the NFC this year? James, I start with you. Your one sentence on the most underrated team in the NFC this year.
My one sentence has got to be the dirty bird shall rise again. That's my one sentence, man. I definitely like what the Atlanta Falcons have done on paper this offseason. You know, retooling that roster, getting a lot of people in there on the defensive side, adding weapons on the offensive side. I know they changed over quarterbacks with Desmond Ridder taking over the helms late last year. This will be his first year going into the season as a starter. He's had the whole offseason to prepare. And the NFC South will be a weaker division this year. Brady's gone. Carolina's in a rebuilding phase. Yes, the Saints added Derek Carr, but I mean, it's the Saints. So, yeah, I think Atlanta has a real shot this year to not only, you know, dominate the NFC South, but possibly make a playoff appearance, maybe sneak a playoff win. We'll see. But, hey, the dream lives on in Atlanta.
I heard a little shade there, Lamont. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of shade in there. I heard just a little teensy bit of it. Lamont, what is your one sentence? The NFC team that will be underrated this year.
All right, my one sentence. If I had to make it a movie title, Darrell, it's going to be "Sleepless in Seattle," the sequel. All right, I think the Seattle Seahawks. All right, the biggest thing that they've had in the past few years has been that offensive line, right? And I think that they've addressed that. I mean, I think last year you saw that the two offensive tackles, the rookies, have started every game for them last season, and they managed to go 9-8, right? Was it 8-9? Whatever the case is, they outperformed what people thought they were going to do, right? I think they got was it Evan Brown over from Detroit. They drafted in the fourth round the center from Michigan. Um, they made moves on the offensive line, and then along with that, you got Jackson Smith Najigba. You got along with Kenneth Walker III. Now you have Charbonnet at running back, right? Like they've made some really impressive moves, both on the offensive end and on the line. So I think this year, if Geno has his stuff together, he's had a whole year to prepare as the guy in Seattle. I don't know, man. I think that they can make some moves.
Okay. Normally I don't do one sentence, but for this show, I'm going to do one sentence. And my one sentence is, when do the Saints come marching in? I think that the Saints are going to be the team that surprised people this year. No, James, you don't like to hear that, but I really do think that the fact that Derek Carr is going to have a humongous Dorito potato chip sitting on the side of his shoulder, but there's a key elements in there that's going to have to go his way. Obviously, you got to get past the first 3 games and get Kamara back there, and then you got Miller, who's a little bit nicked up, who you drafted. You got to make sure all of those pieces. You still got Jamal Williams, who led the league last year in rushing touchdowns with 18. So you got your backfield shouldn't be a problem. Your defense has been pretty decent here, over the last couple of years. And I mean, they got good pieces on that defense. They lost some, but they still have some good pieces. But the key factor for me is if Michael Thomas stays healthy, and we saw at the beginning of last year what he could do at the beginning of that of the season, and was like, man, he was looking good, and he got hurt again. If he stays healthy throughout, that would be my surprise team in the NFC, and then maybe the Saints will go marching in again. James don't like that at all. Come on, James.
Thomas ain't been healthy since when?
It's been a couple of years. Like I said, it's all on hopes and dreams, man.
That defense getting old, man. Hey,
it's still there though.
It might be a changing of the guard with the Saints, but we'll see how much marching they do.
We will see how much marching they do. The next one that we got on here for one sentence will be the team that will disappoint the most. Which NFC team will disappoint the most? What is your one sentence on that? LT, we're going to start with you first. Which NFC team will disappoint the most?
Oh, man. James, close your ears.
Whoa.
All right. Hear me out. Hear me out on this. Now, I named my one sentence to answer the question. I said, dusk before dawn in Atlanta. I must have been on movie titles when I came up. But hear me out. I don't think that the Atlanta Falcons will be disappointing this year, but I think with all the new pieces that James just talked about, I think a lot of people are expecting them to turn it around. I'm one of those people. I think that the Falcons, I love all the moves that they made, but I think they need one more year before they start going at it with the big wigs, right? And I think that in today's time, everybody expects, this team made a bunch of changes, they're going to be it immediately, right? So I don't think it's fair for the people to put that impression on them yet. I think that they're still new, right? As a core, they're still inexperienced a lot, and I think that it's gonna take them a year. So I think that they're gonna win the division, but I think they're gonna win the division as like 8-9, 9-8 win the division, and then next year I think they'll be ready to take on the rest of the NFC. So next year, when you ask me that first question, my answer is probably going to be the Atlanta Falcons. I just think that they're, they got unfair expectations.
Okay.
Man, he got us winning the division though, so
I do.
My book.
I do.
I'm still good with that.
We're making it. We're making headway.
James, we head to you. What team will be the most disappointing in the NFC?
All right. So my one sentence is going to be restore the roar, take 87. I feel like the Detroit Lions will be the biggest disappointment. The Lions have been another one of those teams this past offseason where they've gotten a lot of hype. They had a great stretch run last year. You mentioned Jamal Williams leading the league in rushing touchdowns last season. They've moved on from him. They replaced him with Jahmyr Gibbs. You have another year of, Jared Goff being the quarterback there. Amon-Ra St. Brown's been monsters for them on the outside, but it's the Lions. We still have not seen them truly tap into any real form of success. The last time they made the playoffs, Calvin Johnson was still playing, and it was a disaster that one time they did make it. I mean, the Lions have a history of letting us down at various points of the season. And if you're a Lions fan, my heart goes out to you. But I feel like it's going to be another year where you have to suffer through, some disappointment. You'll get some kneecaps here and there, but I don't think you'll get enough to take the top.
Hey,
we'll see.
It's crazy because like I wanted to pick the Lions myself, but I maybe I have a little hope for them, except for when they play,
You're
that
a Green
team
Bay
back there.
fan.
But I like I said, I almost went that direction. But my team, my one sentence is time to take a giant step back. And I'm talking about the New York Football Giants. Hey, look, my whole thing about this is they made some moves, and I'm like, okay, I think defensively they've gotten better. Personally, I think they've gotten better defensively. I'm still not 100% on the receiving core. Paris Campbell looks like he could be really good, but he's always nicked up. The only one I really like on that receiver core is Isaiah Hodges. He did some really good things towards the end of the season, but we need to see it for a full season. Sterling Shepard, I don't know if he's even still there because I thought they might have released him, but you got guys like Shepard if he's still there. Then you got Wendell Robinson, who they drafted last year. He's been nicked up. But I think one of the biggest problems, even though they signed him, was a little bit of this, this baby tension they had with Saquon Barkley. Running backs have been disrespected for a while, and maybe if you take care of them, and then if you take care of them, maybe things will go a little bit better. But I'm still not sold on paying Daniel Jones $45 million. Just not sold on that at all. So for me, the Giants will take a giant step back.
I can see it.
I just hope Jones stays on his feet, man. He has a tendency to trip on air.
My man,
I just hope my man stay on his feet.
My man likes to slip. All right, everybody, that is it for one sentence. It is now time to swing over to the fire starters and get these predictions going. The NFC South. Now, a division that James said a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit of a tough time for the NFC South. So, the question at hand is like, where do you guys see the NFC South finishing now? I will also say no time today. I'm not putting no time clock up today. The guys know how to mind their business on this, so we're going to see how things go. James, I'll start with you first.
Okay.
South predictions, where do you see this thing finishing up?
So, as we were mentioning earlier, the NFC South, it is going to be one of those weaker up-and-coming divisions this year. I do believe that, the division itself has a lot of great talent amongst the various teams on various sides of the ball. Some teams more offensive, some teams more defensive. So I think it'll make for some interesting matchups, both in that division and around the league. But me personally, the way I see things shaking out, I think the Atlanta Falcons do take the division somewhere between 9 to 10 wins. I don't really see more than that unless they get some breaks to go their way. I see the New Orleans Saints finishing second in the division. I think they'll probably have a lot of close calls. The fact they just traded their kicker, Will Lutz, to Denver, I think that could, that's probably going to take away a win or two because he was a clutch kicker for them. Yeah. And we've seen, a lot of the games in the NFC South have come down to one possession games. Having a great kicker that can win you some, having a bad one can lose you some. So we'll see if that hurts the Saints. I think the Carolina Panthers take third in division. I can see them hovering somewhere between 5 to 6 games. I think Bryce Young will probably get the jump on a few teams. He's a little bit more experienced, a little bit more seasoned of a quarterback coming into the NFL. His size is definitely going to be a detriment, but, I think the Panthers might be able to sneak up on a few teams. And round on the bottom, I'm sorry, Jay, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finishing in fourth. I don't think it's going to be the best year for them. I mean, you lost Brady. He walked away in retirement. You bring in Baker Mayfield. He's battling out with Kyle Trask. They announced that he will be the starting quarterback. But, the last couple of times we've seen Baker, He just hasn't looked that good. I mean, there's a reason he was available. He had that one bright spot out in LA when he beat the Raiders on that Thursday night when he first got
Crazy.
there. And after that, he hasn't been able to recapture that same magic that he found in Cleveland when he got the Browns their first playoff win in like 20 years or so. So I think, Tampa Bay will round out the bottom of the NFC South, and they'll possibly be in contention to either get Drake May or Caleb Williams. We'll have to wait and see. But,
Right.
They might be playing for bigger things in the future.
Well, I guess we'll see on that. Lamar, we head to you, NFC South. What are your predictions, sir?
I'm similar. Okay, so first, I again, like I said, I have the Falcons winning the division. I think that because it is right now, like you said, one of the up and coming divisions in the league, I think the Falcons are going to be around either 8-9 or 9-8. And I think that mainly the reason is because a lot of those teams, they're going to fight within each other. When you have a division like that, often you see even the team at the top getting upset. It just happens with the competition. I think underneath them, I have the Saints. I have the Saints around 7-10. Now, I think the Saints are one of those teams, like James says, they always keep it close, right? There's going to be some games where you feel like they have no business in, and they're going to be in contention for them. Will they win the game? That's going to be another story. But I think that they're going to surprise some people, kind of like what Darrell was saying, because they still have a sound defense, and if they can run the ball, it might even it out. And then third, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I also have their record at 7-10. I think that they're going to be surprising to some teams because they're kind of built like the Saints. They have a defense who's been around for a while, right? They know how to handle the top competition on offense, but they still have some offensive problems to figure out. And then lastly, I think the Carolina Panthers, I don't think they're going to do so well this year. And I think that their main problem is going to be protecting their new quarterback. We saw him take some hits in preseason. It got pretty scary, right? And that's only the preseason. So I feel like they're going to have to figure out, they got a whole bunch of new skill positions, a whole bunch of like bells and whistles, but you still got to figure out the foundation. And I think that they're going to do that. I have them either around 3 or 4 wins, and I think it's going to be rough for them. I could see them being the last winless team in the NFL this year.
Oh man, it's tough. So for me, I'm not gonna go too deep, but I'll just say this: I have the Saints winning the division. I know you don't like that at all. I still think somehow, some way, there's some magic that's gonna happen in New Orleans. So I got Saints, Falcons, and it gets kind of weird between Carolina and Tampa Bay for me, because Carolina, I felt like, even though they had Bryce Young at quarterback, I thought they did some really nice things to bring some pieces around them. You bring in Miles Sanders, you brought in Adam Thielen to bring a veteran presence there. They drafted defense like for 4 or 5 years straight when they had Matt Rule there to try to build up the defense. I'm still going to give the edge to Tampa Bay, and then I'll have the Carolina Panthers finishing last. Last, but I'd say watch out for this division. This is one of those divisions that will be close, I think. Just don't know where the numbers are going to land. So that's where I see it. All right, let's head to our next one. We're heading to the NFC North. I know this division pretty well. But we head to the North on this next one. We got the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions. And fellas, I want to know, what do you think about this NFC North? It's going to be a very interesting division this year. For me, the only thing I will say about this division is that I think that it's going to be the closest division in football. Not the best division in football, the closest division in football. We'll start with Lamont first. Where do you see things going in the NFC's North?
All right. So, like you said, this one can go a lot of different ways. This is how I see it. I look at the division at the end of last year, and I think about who was the most consistent and which team looked like that they were on the up and up the most. And I have to say, I think it was the Detroit Lions, right? They started off with like 1-6. They ended up coming alive because they finally figured out the defensive side of the ball. And everybody said all year long, if the Detroit Lions can play defense, man, will they be scary. They started to play defense. And it wasn't quite up to par, but you could tell that they made some changes, and they have a really bright coaching staff. So I think the Detroit Lions will edge it out. I think that they'll be around 10 wins. Next after that, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I think they take a step back. They won a lot of games where they were really close last year, but we know in the NFL, sometimes that stands for not for long. Like you have to be able to dominate your competition on a weekly basis, and if you can't do that, you're going to run into some issues. And I think with the division getting stronger, I have the Vikings at around 9-8 or so. The next team I actually have is the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears have made a lot of moves, and sort of like I talked about with the Falcons this year. It's like they have a lot of bells and whistles, but we got to see how it works when they put that product on the field. I do like Fields and DJ Moore. The connection. They look like they had some nice explosive plays in preseason. Will they be able to protect them? And is the defense going to show up like they always have? Because the defense has been the bright spot of this team for years, but they haven't had the offense to go with it. So I do have the Bears around 8-9, and then I have the Packers at 7-10. And I think that the thing with the Packers is I don't know if they're going to have both sides of the ball working at the same time. I do believe in the Jordan Love era. I do believe in the Packers defense who still is nothing to play about. I just think that, they have a new regime, and it may take them just like any other team. It may take them a year or two to be able to get it together. Now, you ask me next year, I'll probably be giving you a different answer, but I think the Packers are going to take 1 year to get it together, and then I think they'll be back full steam next season.
James, we head to you next, sir. NFC North, what are your predictions?
So with the NFC North, definitely agree with you guys. It's going to be a close division this year. I actually think that the Minnesota Vikings, though, will repeat as champs of the North. I like what they have on paper. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. They just re-signed T.J. Hawkinson today. He's in the fold for another 4 years. They still have Alexander Madison. They added another guy to the backfield. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they brought in Brian Flores. We know Brian Flores knows how to coach up defense. He had that Miami defense looking pretty scary by the time he was done in Miami. And now he gets to do it over again in New York, in Minnesota. So I definitely feel like with that, those pieces alone, Flores coming in to handle the defensive side of the ball, I could see the Vikings getting to about 10 to 11 wins to take that division. Now, in second place, I do think the Lions will come in second. They'll be on the outside looking in of a playoff berth, hovering somewhere between 8 and 9 wins. I think, they'll be competitive this season, but, the fact that they did so well last year means that they'll play a stronger strength of schedule this season. And so we'll really find out, what they're really made of once they have to start playing those tougher teams this year. And I think, they don't quite cut the mustard at this point. 9-8 wins. If anything, they might get a 7th seed in the playoffs, but I have them on the outside looking in. In third place, I agree with Lamonte there. I think the Bears get third, somewhere between 6 to 7 wins. But, we saw Justin Fields do a lot last year on the ground with his legs. Now you've added pieces from the throw to and DJ Moore. They added a few other guys in the draft, but they also found him what they hope to be his left tackle of the future, and Darrell Wright, the guy they took in the first round at the 10th spot. So, if they can solidify that, give him some protection, he can start to hit those down the field guys on those throws, and then he can also start to incorporate his legs more to kind of finish things off rather than just running for his life and looking like Bo Jackson back in Tecmo Bowl back in the day. But, I think, if they can figure that out, I think the Bears could be a solid third in the division. And I do have the Packers coming in fourth. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if, their record is around the same as the Bears, and they obviously flip-flop. But, I kind of agree with Lamont there. The Packers are going to have to refine themselves. We know that defense is solid, but it's going to be, will it click the same time as the offense will? Will Jordan Love be able to make some of those routine throws and plays that we saw Aaron Rodgers make for the past 20 years? Is he going to be able to at least somewhat step into the shoes? He doesn't quite have to fill them, but he's at least got to be able to hit those throws over the middle, hit Christian Watkins, hit a Romeo Doubs. I feel like they've given him enough tools. It's just going to be, do they have the chemistry to go ahead and put up numbers this season? So we'll definitely find out and see. I don't think it's quite there yet, so I do have him at fourth.
All right. So for me, and we probably just doomed the Lions, y'all. Just to throw that out. No, somebody said Minnesota. So I got the Lions winning the division. But the key part for me is the only thing that I didn't like is you got rid of Jamal Williams and Swift. There was nothing wrong with your running game. That's the part I don't like. But hey, look, so far so good. Campbell has done a really good job of motivating that team, even when that team didn't look like they were going to be all that great. even last year at times, they still motivated, and we saw how good they were towards. So I got Detroit number one. Number two, this one's maybe I'm going off the limb here, but I actually got the Bears going to number two. I think that Justin Fields has a chance to have a really good season. And we see, I know it's preseason, but you've seen him and Moore clicking, and it starts to feel special. Like Moore hasn't had a really good quarterback in a couple of years, and I think he finally got that. The biggest thing for Chicago will be to keep him upright and not have him have to run around like a track star. As long as he doesn't have to do that, I think, in a very tight division where you can sneak a game or two, I got them finishing there. Now, people are going to beat me up for this, but I don't care. I got the Packers finishing third. But my biggest thing is this: the Packers have the best defense in this division. That's just that in a black and blue division is going to come through in the clutch. Now, what we've seen so far for Jordan Love in the preseason, and it's the preseason, so just based off of what we've seen him playing, when he's played, he's been efficient. There's been a couple of misses here and there that, when he get more game repetition, those are throws that we're going to expect for him to make, and that I think he will make as long as he gets more game reps, and that's why he played a little bit more during the preseason. But he's shown some flashes. You're like, well, okay, they got a little connection going here. But the biggest thing that's holding them back to me is their youth. They got the youngest offense in football, and that's not a side note. Well, it is a side note, but it's not one thing that we're gonna, I'm not gonna hold them too much against, because they do have one of the best offensive linemen in this division, and that's, I think, that also going to be a very key part. He knows when to run when he needs to, and I think that offensive line will hold him upright, because you got a healthy Bakhtiari and you got a healthy Jenkins with a Runyon who's played really well, Wells here and there, and then Tom from Wake Forest has done some really good stuff there. So I got them there. And I got Minnesota finishing last. And the reason why, and it's not because I hate him. I promise you it's not because of that. But it really is, I think this is Kirk Cousins last year. And I think that something's going to give. It's Kirk Cousins last year. Something's going to give. Cook obviously being gone, I think Madison will handle his own there. But I think their defense did not improve. And even though they went 13-4 last year, their defense did not improve at all. It actually probably got worse. And in the division where you got to worry about more, and I will even say Love and Watson, because Watson is showing some flashes, and then you got to go deal with Brown. If you ain't got nobody that can stop them, that's gonna be a long season. And like I said, closest division, but we're talking about, I got like 9-8, 8-9, 9-8, like 7-10. So yeah, I got Minnesota finishing last, and we don't see Kirk Cousins in Minnesota next year. Yeah.
Nah, Kirk's got to play for that next contract, man. I think that's why he's gonna ball out.
He might ball out.
He got to play for that contract if he wanted. If not Minnesota, somewhere. So you gonna have to ball.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it might be time, but I think where everybody think he may end up is San Francisco. So Kyle Shanahan's been wanting to get his hands back on Kirk Cousins for a long time, and that might be it. Who knows? I know Brock Purdy's still there, but we'll see. And speaking of Brock Purdy, let's head to the NFC West. Now, the NFC West, a couple years ago, we definitely said, and I remember we had our preview show. Us on here. It was like 6 of us at that time when we did our preview show. And we were raving about how great this division was. You had Kyler Murray, you had Stafford. I think Russell was on there. Russell was still there at the time. And then you had Garoppolo, and it was like, who's going to finish where? That's completely changed. And that's just in a year and a half. Things have just really taken a left turn. So, fellas, we're going to start with you. James, I'll start with you. Who wins the NFC West?
All right, so I think this division is going to be tricky because of the top 2 teams. I believe it's going to be between San Francisco and Seattle. And when we look at both of those teams, San Francisco has the defense to stop almost anybody. What we got to see is Nick Bosa going to be playing. I think he's still holding out for a new contract. I don't believe they've gotten that settled just yet. So, that's going to be a big loss for them on their defense. And Bosa, then not to mention you have Purdy coming back off the elbow surgery from the offseason. So, I think it'll be tough. And with that, I do think the Seahawks skate by and win the NFC East. I think Geno and the boys take it at about 10 wins or so. We've seen that, Geno Smith's had a resurgence in Seattle, having that stellar season last year. They already have DK Metcalf. They still have Tyler Lockett. They go out, they get Jackson Smith and Jigba to just add on to that offense. And he's going to be a guy where, he'll either eat in the slot or you can switch him out with Lockett. And, you can just throw bombs down the field on the outside. Not to mention you still have DK. Oh, and guess what? Seattle can still run the ball, whether it's Kenneth Walker, they added Zach Charbonnet. So Seattle will have a bevy of weapons at their disposal. And, Geno will probably have the best offense he's probably had since joining the league. And then when you look on the defense, they have a lot of young guys where last year, they were starting to make a name for themselves. Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant. So, I think the Seahawks can definitely win this division. Shout out Kobe. So, yeah, I got Seattle taking the NFC West. I do have the 49ers coming in second. If they do get Bosa back, if Purdy plays well coming off the elbow surgery, they probably could compete for first. But right now, I have them in second. I think they'll definitely still make a playoff spot. So maybe they even it out at 10 wins and, Seattle have the tiebreaker, or they're right there at 9 wins or so. But San Francisco will definitely be a tough play. They're nothing to sneeze. They're nothing to look over. So, everybody should definitely be careful about still playing the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Rams finishing third this year. It's not looking good. They just won the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago, and that roster looks drastically different. I mean, the defense is Aaron Donald, some bubble gum, and a couple paper clips. On offense, we have what's left of Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp starting to get nicked up. Last year, their offensive line was atrocious. So I don't even know if they've gotten that figured out. And, McVay could be honestly looking at, man, if this is what I have to deal with going forward, maybe I should look elsewhere for other gainful employment. So, I think the Rams finishing third, and the Cardinals, we know they tanking. So,
they
might go 0-for. They're trying to Caleb Williams sweep.
They trying to draft me next year. That's the rate. They might bring me in at QB at this point.
They might sign us 3 tonight just to make sure. Caleb Williams,
it's like coming out of John Tyler University. Like, wait a minute. Like, John Tyler's not around anymore. Whoops, bright seat.
They're gonna have Lamonte in the slot. They're gonna have you at tight end, and somehow I'm gonna be the slot corner, and I don't know who I'm stopping, but I'm getting paid though.
That's all, and that's all that counts. Just as long as you get paid. Lamont, we had to use.
All I wanted to tell you is if they are gonna make that move and sign me, they better have my guaranteed money. I know that.
Facts. That's all I care about. Guaranteed pay. Guaranteed pay. Lamont, we had to use on the NFC West.
All right, so straight up, mine is similar to James. I just have the top flipped around. So I got the 49ers coming in first. I just think with the experience and Shanahan having a full, off season with both McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Ayuk, and having those guys, having those weapons, to be able to strategically game plan for a whole off season is going to be dangerous. I don't think people realize how dangerous it's going to be because the guys already, you got to give him his props, in terms of scheme. And I think that with those weapons, he can do some damage. So I have the 49ers at 11-6. I do think the Seahawks will come in second. Again, I thought that, by the first question we had tonight, you see that, they're going to be my most surprising team. So I had them at 10-7. The Rams I have in third. I feel like they're the team that I'm most unsure about, right? Because just like James said, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Yes, the roster has changed, but I feel like they still have the same people as leaders, right? You still have an Aaron Donald, you still have a McVay, right? And it's the same mojo for them. I just think that they've just been challenged in the last few years, and whether or not they're going to be the best Rams, or they're going to be back on the saddle, or they're going to take more steps back, it just remains to be seen. But I do have them in third, but I have them at a winning record. I think they'll figure it out, but I think it'll be a little too late. I see them 9-8 on the outside of the playoffs looking in. And then fourth, of course, you got Arizona, the tank story. How far are they willing to take it? I do think that Kyler Murray is going to try to stick it to them a little bit. I think that he'll manage to win some games. When he does get back, he'll manage to win some games on his own. But I think that they'll be 6-11. I think that they're not the team that they were when he got there, right? Everybody bought into them. Everybody was like, "Oh, well, we believe in him. We think that this team is going somewhere." That's not the talk of the town anymore. So I believe that they're about 5 or 6 wins.
That's interesting because I definitely haven't won in one. I don't even think Kyler Murray is going to play this year.
I do think they hold him out.
I think they hold him out. And I think what's going to happen. Personally, I think they're going to try to hold him out, and then try to help facilitate a trade to where he wants to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to
be it's obvious.
He's gonna. Yeah. I think for him, it's gonna be in him and his camp's best interest to at least come out and show the next person. Because remember, you gotta hold down your future, right?
Yeah, yeah.
NFL, we know if we don't see you, we don't see you.
Right. He better not win those games though. He better not win those games. I'm telling you right now.
It's gonna be the problem. To me,
the saving grace is they got the Texans first rounder too.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. And so they
could end up with the top two.
They're looking at the top 2 picks, man. Like it's right there. Oh my God. I'm telling you, it's absolutely crazy. I'll go real quick on mine. I have 49ers at the top, but I do like your thought with the Seahawks, James. I could definitely see the Seahawks making a run. I think Geno's confidence is at a high level. He's paid. He's got the best offense he's had in a long time. I got to agree with you 100% on that.
Best offense he's had since college.
Yes, since college, since the old West Virginia days. So I really do like what they have going on there. It's hard for me to pick not pick the 49ers though, because to me, Kyle Shanahan is the best coach in the NFL. I've been telling people this for years because nobody has done more with the rotation of quarterbacks that he's had. If not, he's at least the quarterback whisperer. And then people say, wait a minute, what about Andy Reid? Andy Reid has Pat Mahomes, okay? And I'm not dissing. Andy Reid's great, but he has Pat Mahomes. I saw Chad Henne go out there and do his thing during that playoff game, and Chad Henne was out there looking clean. Let me stop because they're going to have Chief fans out here trying to attack me and beat me down. But that my point is Shanahan's done a lot with a lot less at QB. So 49ers, Seahawks, got Rams, and it's by default. I think if the Rams were of the Cardinals were actually trying, and they weren't trading everybody away, I think it might be a different dream. So, but yeah, that's where I have it in the NFC West. All right, we head to the last division in the NFC, and that is the NFC East. Oh man, the East is a doozy. Last year we got the defending NFC champions coming out of here in the Philadelphia Eagles. You got a team in Dallas who every year you're like, man, this could be the year. Even in this year, you still had the high hopes of what Dallas could do. You got the Giants who coming off of a big year last year, making the playoffs and getting the playoff win for the first time in a couple of years. And then you have the Commanders who have new ownership and are feeling bright and shiny inside, just like a brand new car, with Magic Johnson and Josh Harris leading the way. And so, Lamont, we start with you and the NFC East. What are your predictions on the NFC East? Who do you have going? I'm not going who you have going, but who do you have winning that bad boy? And what do you think it looks like in the end?
All right. I think as much as we all love to mess with the Dallas Desperados,
I love it.
I do think that they will be the NFC East champion this year. And that's strictly because they have one of the honestly, they have one of the best defenses in football. I just got to keep it 100. I believe they carry through. I believe that just like any other year for them, their problems will start in December. 13-4. I got the Cowboys. I think the Eagles 12-5. I think the Eagles come in. I think the only reason why they take a step back is because of I think they started off a lot of games hot last year, right? Like they just jumped out on teams. Now when they're neck and neck, or when they actually have to be able to sustain a battle through the whole game, I don't know if it's going to end up on their side all the time, and that's just the NFL way, right? I just think that a lot of things went their way last year, but I still have them at 12-5 and being a great team. They lost a few pieces on defense, but that remains to be seen. And third, I have the New York Giants. I think the Giants, like Darrell said, they take a step back. I do see them being around that 500 area, either 8 games, 9 games, something like that. I do have them most likely missing the playoffs. And I think last, I do have the Washington Commanders, but just a game back from the Giants. If they're 9-8, and they're 8-9, right? I think that their defense also carries them. When they play to the potential, they are dangerous because they can stop They can make stops. I do think it may take them some time to get that offense together. They have some pieces. They can run the ball. They got receivers. We're not sure on quarterback yet. We'll see. But I have the Commanders rounding it out at probably around 7 and maybe 7-9. I'll say 7-9-1. They'll split with the Giants one time.
Okay.
They love to do that.
That's true. That's true. Except for last year when they decided to tie and miss out on the play. But that's another story for another
Well,
day.
that's what I'm saying.
that's a story for another day. James, what are you looking at in the NFC East?
Okay, so I like what LT said. Love his assessment, but for me personally, cheesesteaks and pit bulls for everybody, because I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East again. And this is going to be the toughest division in the NFC this year. It always usually is. All these teams play each other tough, and they beat up on a lot of teams around the league. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles will retain their spot as NFC East champs. I know they lost both coordinators on each side of the ball, but you know what? The guys that make the plays are still there, and the head man calling all the shots is still there. They retooled on the defensive side, adding on to the bodies they already had. Like I said, they're Georgia Junior at this point. They went in, they added a Jalen Carter who has been dominant looking in both training camp and the preseason so far. He's been dominant. They add that to a Fletcher Cox, a Jordan Davis, a Brandon Graham. Then you go in, you add on a Nolan Smith to the rest of your pass rushers. And then even in the fourth, they picked up Keely Ringo late. I think he will definitely rotate in somewhere on the back end of their secondary. So the Eagles are still stacked on defense. And then we go to the offense. You got Jalen Hurts. He's been paid. If we know anything about Jalen Hurts, he's a guy who's trying to earn his keep day in and day out. Love the man, love his work ethic. I think he'll definitely still be on top of his game. I think, the fact that they've added a DeAndre Swift that'll help him out in the running game. They still have A.J. Brown. You still have Devontae Smith. You got Quez Watkins. You have Kenneth Gainwell. They have pieces everywhere. And then they still have the most unstoppable play in short yardage situations, that rugby scrum. That's still illegal. That's still allowed. That's still legal. That's still allowed. So look for them to implement that again. So Philadelphia Eagles, I think they definitely take the NFC East. And I think a lot of it is due in part that Jalen Hurts really doesn't throw to the other team like the guys that'll be in second place, the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dallas definitely takes second. A lot of it will be probably because of the fact they will have an awesome defense. We'll just need to see, will that offense keep up with them this year? Last year we definitely know that Dak led the league in interceptions. So we'll have to see, can he control that a little bit more? Can he reduce the turnovers? Can he add on to the touchdown count? And then you got to think, he's also in a prove-it year. Both him and Mike McCarthy, they're on the clock. They're on the hot seat. They have to get it done this season, or Jerry might start to look in other directions. They've already traded for Trey Lance. Don't know what they're going to do with that one. But, clearly Jerry's thinking something long-term in case these two aren't the answer for him. So I think they finish in second this year. They're probably the fifth seed in the NFC's playoff picture. Maybe they make some noise. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'm in third. I think the New York Giants take the third spot in the division. They had an awesome year last year, made the playoffs, beat the Vikings. So, I think they really overachieved last season. I think we do see them reel back a little bit. I'm going to have them around 8-9 wins. Me personally, I think they invested long-term in the wrong guy. It should have been Saquon Barkley, not Daniel Jones, but we'll have to wait and see. I do like the fact they added Jalen Hyatt, deep threat. Guy's phenomenal. Had some spots here and there in the preseason. So, I like what they did there. I think they take third. Then we get to the Commanders. I have the Commanders in fourth. I think it's going to be a rough start. I could see the Commanders possibly getting out to a 1-2 win start. And by week 6, Ron Rivera is unfortunately out of there because they're under new management now. They got new ownership. And I think we'll finally see Eric Bieniemy get his shot to be a head coach. And in his shot at being a head coach, I think he turns it around a little bit. He takes those 2 wins they already had. He takes that offense. He does his magic with Sam Howell. He somehow gets them to 7, maybe 8 wins to finish out the year. And he possibly gets a long-term spot as the Washington Commanders head coach. So, that's my prediction for Washington. They'll finish 4th. They'll lose a coach, but they'll gain a head coach.
They'll finish 4th. They'll lose a coach, but they'll gain. I like that. So I agree with uh James. I agree with James. I think the Eagles will reign supreme at the top. I just think that they're just going to be too good. Personally, I mean, people are going to be honing in on them. They're going to still be, hey, they're the NFC champs, so they're going to get a target on their back. So it will be a little bit tougher for them. So I agree with Lamont on that end. But for me, I got the Eagles. I got the Desperados, aka the Dallas Cowboys. I got them finishing second, but it's the big thing for them this year. Dak has to really turn down on the turnovers. He's got to be better with the football, man. Like he's a good look. Block out all the noise. Dak Prescott is not a bad quarterback. Problem is he's in Dallas, so the light shines bright, but he's got to stop making those. The picks were just horrendous last year at the worst possible times. I got Dallas second. I have the Commanders going third. My thing with this team is defensively, I really do think I'm not gonna say they're the best team in the division, but this division probably has what 3 or 4 out of the I said 3 out of the 4 like top defenses in the conference. I mean, look, that Commanders defense is going to be tough. The defensive backfield is stacked. The defensive line is stacked. Their only weakness is that linebacker. I think Sam Howell is going to be very serviceable. He's going to have some moments here and there. Their biggest concern is their offensive line. But one good thing, Sam Howell can maneuver and can move in the pocket. So I think that'll kind of help him a little bit. And then I got the Giants fan. I just really think the Giants are going to take a step back. I don't like how they did some of the moves in the offseason. The Dan Jones thing just really bothered me. They gave him $45 million and he had 15 touchdowns last year and 5 picks. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. But it is what it is. All right, everybody. That is it for our NFC predictions. What was that, Lamont?
They said they gained to Isaiah Simmons. I think that's bigger than most people realize.
Yeah, I do like Simmons. I do love the Simmons pickup. I thought that was a really great move for them. Terrible move by the Cardinals, but they long term.
We know it.
Long term, great move. Long term, great move. All right, everybody. That is it for the fire starters. And now what was that, Lamont? I don't know what Lamont said.
No, I just said tank. That's the
tank.
The tanking.
They're taking, baby. They taking. Let's go ahead and head to our to the main flame. It is time to find out, ladies and gentlemen, who is going to win. Who is going to win the NFC North? I mean, not North. Excuse me, the NFC. I'm getting my words twisted up. We're gonna find out now who's gonna win the NFC. Let's head to the main flame. At hand, ladies and gentlemen, is simply this: who's going to win the NFC? Who is going to win the NFC? James, I'm going to start with you. Who wins the NFC, man? Who takes that bad boy?
The Philadelphia Eagles, man. Come on now. I have the Eagles repeating as NFC champions once again. I definitely believe they'll represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Like I said previously, their roster's still stacked. Yes, they lost their coordinators, but the talent's still there. The players are still there, and they've added on to it. I don't think enough people understand that they were already a talented roster. They made the Super Bowl last year. Yes, they may have snuck up on teams. Yes, they may have been surprised last year, but they've added on to all of that, ladies and gentlemen. So I definitely think, the Philadelphia Eagles will repeat as NFC champs. I feel like really their only competition in the division itself will be Dallas. Then if we look around the conference, if San Francisco doesn't do it, I don't see who else who could really beat them. I think the rest of the teams in the NFC, while they are talented, they have people. I don't think they have enough to keep up with the rotation of guys that Philly could throw at you. So I think the Eagles take it.
All right, Lamont, who you got winning the NFC?
Okay. So
okay.
I figured you like that. So the way that my seeding turned out in the first round, it'll be 49ers. I think I had the Vikings, sneaking in there. I got the 49ers. I got the Seahawks upsetting the Lions. And I got the Eagles beating the Falcons. And now in the second round, that makes Cowboys and Seahawks. I took the Cowboys. That leaves the 49ers and Eagles in the second round, right? I think that just like James said, if anybody can do it, it's going to be the 49ers. And I think that the coaching might be the difference. Like he said, the Eagles lost both coordinators. They might still be figuring it out, whereas the 49ers are a little more seasoned in that game. And I think that maybe Shanahan figures it out. Maybe they edge them out. I got the 49ers. And then, of course, I got the 49ers taking it. They'll be playing the Cowboys in the last round, and the Cowboys and playoffs don't really go together. So,
Wow.
I'm gonna go with.
He's got a point. I mean, they haven't won since the 90s.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
I got them winning the regular season, right? So basically, the Cowboys being the top seed, and what better script would be to play out is if they get Cowboys fans so excited and they meet the 49ers in the NFC Championship.
Oh man, they just would be like, why is this happening again? But I mean, hey, if that is the case, you gotta beat the team that's got you. I feel like it would be poetic justice if they can beat the team that just had their number. I mean, especially the last two players. I mean, look, as you know, as a member of that organization back there, I feel the same way. I mean, if somehow, some way they can sneak one and get a playoff victory against, them, I'd be okay too with it. So for me, I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I actually, James is going to fight me for this. I got the Saints going to the NFC Championship game. I
know we've been gone for a month, brother. What you been on?
I don't know what it is. I just have a vibe. And maybe I got a vibe. That's all I can say. I just feel like Derek Carr, Derek Carr is going to find a way. Him and the squad are going to get to the NFC Championship game, but I do have the Eagles winning that game, though. I'm not going to the Super Bowl. I thought about it.
It's funny that you said that because I saw that on Caesar. Like I was looking at like some of the top bets for each division.
Mm-hmm.
One of the top bets for the NFC South is that Derek Carr has the most interceptions in the NFL this year.
Yeah, let's hope that's not the case. Well, at least for my prediction purposes.
I love it.
I know you would
me.
I'm just looking out for prediction.
Bit,
please don't do that bad. Please don't do that bad. I mean, but I know for James' sake, why not? Why not?
Bother me a bit.
I bet it won't. James like, look, man, I ain't got time for that. Let's go. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and finish this bad boy up. Let's put out the fire.
Fire, fire, burn on. Fire, 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 burn on. Fire, 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 fire. Legacy on fire.
Let's go ahead and get things rolling here. Lamont, why don't you go ahead and put out the fire, sir?
I'm ready. It's hot. It's burning. So I'm gonna do it. Okay. I want to address this Noah Lyles situation. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it blew up with him saying, every year I got to watch the NBA, and they're saying world champions and world champions of what, right? And then X or Twitter, whatever it is, blows up, and everybody, including Kevin Durant and the burner account, are their karma. So what I have to say about that is I feel both sides, right? But I feel like I'll put it to you like this. If you ask guys like Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, James Harden, all of them have gold medals. Between the three of them, they're all great players, and none of them have an NBA championship. All right, like playing for the Team USA is like having 2 Usain Bolts or having 2 or 3 Michael Phelps on your team, right? It's like, yes, we know there's a lot of international players in the NBA, but their ultimate goal is to win an NBA championship. That's how competitive that league is, right? It's really hard to get a spot. You've seen these players who, some of them play for 10 to 15 years before they even get a regular spot in the NBA. The league is the pinnacle of the sport in the world. Now, my only thing is you're not gonna hype up yourself and what Noah Lyles did this year, winning the 100 and 200, is crazy, right? Like you're the top in the world at both events. So, but you're not gonna brighten your shine by picking on the NBA. That's just it's not the right move. I just think that you should enjoy what you did and leave it at that, because I don't think they're comparable, and I feel like they're not even the only sport. The NHL, they say world champions when somebody wins. The MLB, I know it sometimes in recent years they have world champions on their heads. So I don't get the fight, and I don't like it, and I don't think he's gonna win.
But it was like, all right. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you said it, and yes, what you're saying is not wrong, but
Right.
in the same time, it's wrong. Like,
Yes.
there's no other. We all know that all the professional, like from all around the world, all the best players come to the NBA. All the best players go to the NHL. All the best players go to the NFL. Well, obviously, it was that, and all the best players go to Major League Baseball.
Right.
I mean, look, Shahani, if Altani, if he wanted to stay out in Japan, he would have stayed out there. Why would he travel all the way to the United States? Because you know what? It's about that paper, and it's the better league. So it's like you're fighting a losing battle. In my opinion, I mean, it's crazy. It's not crazy talk, but it's like at the same time, it's crazy talk, my guy. Like, it's like, what do you expect here?
I don't even understand what you're winning, because you're holding the flag up, but then you're bashing a league that's in your country. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, if all the fights to pick, that's not the one.
Right. So I thought it was interesting. James, we head to you, man. Go ahead and put out the fire.
So, just to comment on LTs, I think Lyles knew what he was doing because he knew attacking the NBA would get him the notoriety from Kevin Durant, and with all the burner accounts he has, that just takes his Twitter numbers through the roof. So I think there was a method to the madness, man. I think he kind of knew what he was doing, and picking with the NBA and getting under Durant's skin. He's playing the long game on that one. Don't agree with it, but he's playing the long game. But for me, I want to stick kind of with the NFL, looking at the NFC side of things. I know earlier we mentioned that, the Dallas Cowboys made the trade for Trey Lance. Honestly, that one is a bit of a head scratcher to me at this point in time, because, what was really the purpose for that? What's the play there? What's the long term? What's the short term? Because Trey Lance was a guy, he was a third overall pick the year he came out. He was a raw talent coming out of North Dakota State. 49ers, I think they really saw like possible potential. But I think what really ended up happening, if we go back, we look at that draft, a lot of people thought that when the 49ers traded up, that they were going to take Mac Jones. That was some of the rumors at the point in time, because, Kyle Shanahan, we know what types of quarterbacks he likes. Mac Jones fit that description. And then Kyle started hearing all the outside noise from the media and everyone else. Well, man, did they really trade up to take Mac Jones at third? Did they really go up? Did they really sacrifice 2 extra first round picks and a couple picks in there to take a Mac Jones? And in hindsight, looking at it, they probably would have been better off taking Mac Jones. If we just compare the two, Jones has way more starts than Lance due to the injuries he's had and just his lack of ability to get on the field. But Mac Jones has also made a Pro Bowl. Don't think it's worth much anymore since the Pro Bowl is really crap. But he's made a Pro Bowl. He's taken his team to the playoffs. They got walloped when they got there by the Bills, but he made the playoffs. So I think hindsight, looking back on it, if Shanahan could have that pick back, I think he does take Mac Jones. Mac Jones probably plays at the same level of Brock Purdy, if not more. I do think Jones is a little bit more talented. And maybe he does have a Super Bowl by now, or maybe he's at least definitely in competition for a Super Bowl, because he would have a quarterback at his level or more by taking Mac Jones. So I feel like he let everybody else get to him. He let the outside get to him on that one and take him off his guy, which I do believe was Mac Jones. And he went with the project player in Lance. It didn't roll out. It didn't work out. Crapped out so he sent him to Dallas. If I'm Jerry Jones, is Lance going to be my guy after Dak? Is Lance going to be my goal line running back since I don't have Zeke anymore? What's his fit? How does he fit in with this team? Where is he going to be used at? I mean, I don't know if Mike McCarthy is really a guy that knows how to develop quarterbacks. He had Aaron Rodgers, but, I don't know if I can say that he really developed Rodgers. We saw towards the end of their relationship that Rodgers was pretty much like, man, get me somebody else. Get me another guy. I feel like it ran its course. We've seen in Dallas, I don't really know if he's developed Dak. They've been great together, but I think it was more so maybe Kellen Moore behind the scenes calling the shots. We'll see what it looks like this year. But, where's Trey Lance fitting the Dallas's plans? Who knows? Maybe the 49ers, they're regretting their decision. Maybe they wish they had Mac Jones. Who knows on that front? So, it's just interesting to see how a few years down the road, man, how things are, how things could have been. It's always an interesting take in the NFL.
Yeah, man. Like I say, it's been been a very interesting time for QB and in New England. Though no Malik Cunningham now, they brought him in, and there was high hopes. I remember like they were talking about in OTAs, he's looking pretty good. Now all of a sudden he's not. I think they may have brought him back on the practice squad as a receiver, but I'm not 100% on that. So yeah, definitely different times. But Bill's actually showing Max some love and saying, "Hey man, we're gonna make sure this is your team for now. We'll see." But it's still early. I'm intrigued to see how he plays that night that Brady comes back, because Brady's supposed to come back, I think, for the first game, and I think they're retiring his jersey. Mac Jones, you got to ball out, bro. You got to throw for 500 yards that night. I'm sorry, whatever it takes, you got to throw for 500 yards that night.
500 yards to who? I mean,
they just signed. Who did they just sign? They just signed
who?
Wait a minute.
Who did they just sign?
I forgot who it was. I saw it earlier. They picked somebody up off the Jalen Reagor. There we go. Jalen Reagor.
You got Juju though.
Yeah, they do. They got Juju.
Juju's a nice possession guy, nice guy in the slot.
You got about
he's taking the top off nobody's defense.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Got Juju and 100 tight ends.
And 100 tight ends. And they got my man Glisecki, tight end from Miami. So I mean,
I don't know if that's 500 yards right there. I mean, we said Reagor, Glisecki, and Juju. I think that might be $175, 225 max. No way is it near 500 yards.
He gonna have to figure it out. He gonna have to figure it out. He got to have the best game of his career at least. If not, it's gonna be a long time.
We haven't seen Reagor work anywhere yet. Man, I mean, there's a reason he's available.
Belichick might offer Brady a contract right then and there. That's how serious that is. So you better figure that bad boy out. He better figure that bad boy out.
He puts the jersey back on at halftime and he comes back out and leads them on a comeback victory. That would be epic.
That would be epic, but man, I would, man. Somebody would have to give that man a hug. They would have to give my man a hug. It would be tough times. Right. It would be very tough times.
I think to James's point when he talked about the whole Mac Jones situation and what the 49ers are doing with Lance and what the Cowboys are doing with Lance. I think that you think about the last couple of years for the Cowboys, right? They had to win a couple games with DiNucci at quarterback last year. The year before that, it was Andy Dalton, right? Both times they were without Dak during critical parts of the season, and both of those quarterbacks played well. And with the star-studded defense, maybe it's just an insurance thing, and maybe it may be a future move too. But maybe Dak's not as healthy as we know him to be, right? Maybe he has some of those underlying issues. We don't know, but he's been out the last couple seasons, and who knows that they may just need an insurance that to carry them through.
Hey, and it may be just that. I mean, we will find out. I mean, we'll see.
That's some risky insurance.
Yeah, it's a risky insurance. All right, so my put out the fire really isn't like a fire thing, but I just want to send love to Bray Wyatt. This hurts my heart because I'm a big wrestling fan. Y'all know how big a wrestling fan I am. Bray Wyatt passed away last week, 36 years old. 36 years old. And that hits home. That's our age, y'all. Like, we were right in that mix. And when you see somebody who's an athletic, he was a bigger guy, but he was still athletic. And he does have some heart issues or whatever. But just to see that happen hurt my heart because as a wrestling fan, he was my favorite wrestler, active wrestler. I enjoyed him. He made wrestling funny. All the cryptic talk, all of the great promos, everything he did for wrestling. I mean, everybody was anticipating him coming back, and nobody saw this coming. I remember when I even got the news from our colleague Russ, it had me just was like, wow. I still can't even believe it happened. And I see all these tribute videos to him, and I'm like, did Bray Wyatt just pass away? And it happened. And it just once again tells you how short life can be. So live that sucker to the fullest. That one really put a damper on my spirit. I was like, oh, come on, not Bray, man. Like, I don't even know how to feel, to be honest with you, y'all. It's one of those ones that was really tough. But hey, much love to his family. And prayers go out to his family because it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he's one of those people who is the charisma, right? Like,
yes.
You'll never have another Bray Wyatt, right? And so it's one of those people where you're just like, I think the reason why it's hard for me to believe it is because you can't duplicate him, right?
No.
It's like I don't know, and not to really compare the impacts, but it's like when we heard the news on Kobe, right?
Yeah.
It's like you you can't substitute. You can't say, well, at least there's this, that, and the third. Like there'll never be another one, right? Like he's the only person who could pull off the stuff that he
Exactly.
he's the only person who gives you that feeling in wrestling in that impact, right? So it's like it was weird.
Yeah,
I definitely was shocked by it.
I agree with you 100%. I think that's exactly the best way to put it. Not obviously not Kobe Bryant on the skill level or whatever, whatnot, but on the impact to the business, I think it's the same dream, man. And it was a tough one. So much love to him and his family. And just prayers that everything during a time of comfort. I can only imagine. All right, everybody, that's it. Episode 55 of Legacy on Fire, the NFC preview. Once again, we'd like to thank our Bowie TV audience for joining us. Hope that you enjoyed the show. We got more to come here from the Legacy Maker Sports Network here on Bowie Television. So we truly, truly appreciate that opportunity and just can't wait to bring you more. James, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Man, glad to be back. Can't wait to get back to do the next one. Always, as always, make sure everybody out there watching, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out everything we got here at the Legacy Maker Sports Network.
All right. Lamonte, anything you want to say before we go?
Just ditto to what you said. Appreciate all of the Bowie TV watchers and followers. We appreciate all of our, followers on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. It's a busy season for us, so we appreciate y'all in advance for everything we got going on, for the love and support that all of y'all show us. So much love.
All right. And once again, thank you all, everybody. We truly appreciate it. This has been episode 55 of Legacy on Fire. We'll be back for Legacy on Fire, episode 56 AFC preview next week. We got a lot coming down the road, y'all. I'm telling you. So enjoy. Thank you once again. And we will see you all next time.